welcome. You have now entered into I5 The Heat Radio. This is a new week. This is our third episode, and we have some heavy topics. We have some information as well as on your health side as well. So I'm excited. I am extremely excited about this week, like I am about every week, actually. But let me go ahead and introduce everyone that's here today. Key, are you there?
Hey, how you doing? Hello, everyone.
I'm great. What about you?
Good. Enjoying this beautiful weather today.
Yes. I have to get out today. It's wonderful. Oh, my goodness. Also, we have Rain on the line. Rain?
Hi, how are you? Jess, thank you so much for having me back on the show again. I had so much fun last week. I cannot wait to start discussing the topics that you have lined up for this week.
All right. I'm ready to get this going. MJ, we have a special co-host on today taking the place of James. MJ, are you there?
I am here, and I'm excited about being a co-host on such a wonderful podcast.
All right. Okay. All right. So I say we go ahead and get started. Our first topic is going to be about Lamar Odom. He is 35 years old. He plays basketball and for the Lakers. Am I correct, guys?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So this week, Tuesday, October 12th, he was found at a brothel, and he was taken to the hospital around like 3 p.m., rushed to the hospital. They found all types of drugs in his system, and from my understanding, he was there for about 3 days at this brothel. He spent over $75,000 at this brothel, and also, like I said about the drugs, he had every single drug in his system known to man, it seems like, is what is being reported. I don't know much about Lamar Odom. I know he is married to Khloe Kardashian. They already signed the papers, divorce papers, but because it hasn't been finalized yet, she still has the final say as what is going to happen to him, which I think is kind of not a good thing. I mean, if you've already signed the divorce papers and it's already been handed off to the court, it's been a while now. It should have been finalized. And if it's tied up in court just because you have other cases ahead of you, I don't think that she should be the one to make the final say of what's going to happen to him. But what's being reported is that he was unconscious at first, and then he went to a coma. Then he woke up for a brief moment, and then he slipped back into a coma. He's brain dead. And then the last thing I saw is that he woke up and he said hi to his estranged wife, Khloe Kardashian. So his health is teetering back and forth. But what do you guys think about the situation as far as the overdose and how much money he has spent at the brothel?
Well, I'll start off because I am someone who keeps up with the Kardashians. So, I've been watching the show for a while. I watched the show that Khloe and Lamar had. And I think anyone watching the show could tell that he was headed down a tragic path. It seemed like he lived a really fast-paced lifestyle. And he had a very sad childhood. I think his mom died of cancer when he was really young, and you could just tell how that affected him. It seemed like he just never really got the love or, maybe got over it. Him and Khloe Kardashian, they married after only knowing each other for a short time. And even though, it seems like he may have found love with her, she, seemed like she really loved him, he still cheated and, had this negative behavior that led her to walk away from the marriage. So I think he had a best friend that was on the show. I want to say his name was Jay or James, and it was revealed like shortly after the show got canceled that the best friend also died of a drug overdose. So it just really seems like he was just, doing things that were not healthy, and he just was down this path of destruction. So I'm really not surprised about this story. People are making a big deal about him being found in the brothel, which, again, that's not really shocking. He seems like he's someone who is looking for love and, like, looking for ways to compensate that love through, getting his kicks from any means necessary.
Okay. Well, you know what? I think you're right about that. You're looking for love in all the strange, crazy places. Like you said, his mother and grandmother did die from cancer. His son died from sudden infant death syndrome. And like you said, his friend, he had actually 2 friends who died from an overdose, which is surprising to me because if you've seen that happen, why would you find yourself in the same kind of situation, or why would you put yourself in that situation? I don't know. I've never been in that situation, so I really can't say. But
well, some of my background is I used to play in a program with Lindsey Hunter, Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, and Detroit Pistons. So one of the things that is synonymous with sports is that it's a I can do better attitude. If you look back to Lynn Bias, who, you get out there and you don't really know what you're doing. But at the same time, from an athlete's point of view, Lamar Odom is a weak person. He's if you look at the way he plays basketball, he's not aggressive for his stature. He was supposed to add to the Lakers so that he could be a dominating force. So he doesn't have that strong dominating personality. So you take a person who is weak in the mind and you introduce him to drugs, and just if you want to say if there is a such thing as a ethnical way of doing drugs, I would say some people outside races do some much wilder drugs like opium, cocaine. That is not your typical, hey, let's go do cocaine, ecstasy, crystal meth. These are some extravagant drugs. And I think the brothel is hey, we're going to go do this. I'm going to try it. I'm going to experiment. And I don't think it's just that he got hooked on or was doing things. I think he was, if you remember the movie Ricochet type with Denzel Washington, where he was eventually pumped with syphilis and other types of drugs that, really weren't part of his nature. I think that's kind of what happens when you're in the league. If, this is when you're in the spotlight. You're losing your wife. You're not doing what people expected you to do in the NBA. You might risk something else.
I want to chime in. I want to kind of agree with everybody. For me, coming with a background of substance abuse, mental health issues, I'm just coming and seeing this on an everyday basis. One of the things that I see when I see Lamar Odom is a child that maybe has been missed. When you're dealing with people who are growing up without their parents, they're dealing with loss, they're doing all these other kind of factors. The key thing as parents, as a society, what we have to do is learn to grab onto those children and embrace them and support them, give them the counseling, the mental health services, the outlet that they need in order to get over this traumatic event. I do believe that all his history and everything that he's come up through has had a place and played a major part in where he, in each part of his life, in making choices and getting into sports. Maybe that was an outlet. But you also have to have the counseling piece of losing your mom at such a young age. And a mother, as we know, mothers and fathers are the most important people that are going to raise, our youth. So when I look at him, I just see almost what I see every day in my everyday life and work, is a child that maybe we didn't give him everything that he needed in order to be more successful. I mean, I couldn't imagine losing my mother, and then I'm still making bad decisions. I've lost my friends. I'm still making bad decisions. When you're seeing people that are making those continued bad decisions, you have to really take a look back, especially I do, and kind of say, well, I wouldn't make that decision, or you wouldn't make that decision. So why is he making that bad decision? And it's just because he hasn't, we didn't reach back, maybe someone didn't reach back and kind of say, hey, let's talk about your mom's loss. Let's talk about the pros, the cons, what we're going to do going forth. It's a lot of mental health issues, and then once we have mental health issues, we all know it often goes into substance abuse, and they're two of the same. And when I see it, a lot of people look at it very differently, but I look at it as just a case that, like I said, I see every day of just children that maybe we missed, and this is a product, and I just wish the best for him and his family, and I hope that we can look at this situation as a learning piece, because it can go a whole bunch of different ways, but a learning piece of just mental health and substance abuse as a major cause of death in our society, loss. I mean, it's not gotten better in about the 15 years I've been in the field. It's just not getting better. So I don't know.
Right. I would have to agree with you, Key, because, losing your mom at such a young age, how do you cope? I know a lot of people that wouldn't be able to cope with the loss of their mother. Your mother was such a important sector in your life. You're not going to know which direction to go into. And like what you said with his friends died of overdosing. And you said him making continuous mistakes over and over again. He doesn't know which way to go. He doesn't know a positive route to go into, because he was missing something at that young age, and that was his mother. So I'm thinking that's like the main focus right there, and then it kind of trickled down for him in a negative way. So, but like what you said just now, Key, as far as, taking a look at this, and I hope we learn from this. But it's so weird. We keep saying that, and it's like people are dying left and right from overdosing. I've looked online. There's over 20 pages, A through Z, over 20 pages, way over. And I'm talking about the font is extremely small. I'm thinking this is a 10. So there's a million people on these sheets. I'm just going to read some off. Jimi Hendrix, Billie Holiday, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Janis Joplin, Bruce Lee, General Levert, Pimp C, he's a rapper, Elvis Presley, Freddie Prinze, David Ruffin. That's just naming a few. But, I mean, it's like you see one after the other, and it's like, if you see one on TV, to me it would seem like, well, I don't want to go down that path. I don't want to end up like that person. Why would they do that to me? I guess because with me saying that, I've never tried drugs, so I don't know how it's like. But to me, with a rational mind, I'm looking on TV like, you see the TV commercials that say, don't do drugs as a kid. That's kind of been instilled in me. Why has it not been instilled in other people as well?
Well, I don't have a drug history, but I have several drug users in my family. And one of the things that, I think a lot of families have that person. I'll admit it. They're my brothers. None of my sisters do it. I think one, when it comes to popular careers such as music, such as sports, some of the people that you just named off that list, Jimi Hendrix, Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, they are invincible. They are unstoppable. So when you look at, when you are deemed as a god, when it comes to what you do, there are things that you would try that others normally wouldn't try. And in line with that, you have the money for that. When you have $20 and you need to eat or you need to get crack cocaine, you are more susceptible to eat. When you have $200,000 and you need to eat, you could splurge a little on a recreational drug. And I guess that the word I just used, recreational drug. In the economics of drug usage or entertainment, using cocaine is recreational. Some of the lifestyles they do, going to a brothel, that's recreational. I don't have $75,000. If I had $75,000, I don't think I'm going to spend it on a woman unless we've been married and she can count it up with verifiable receipts over a course of some years. So $75,000 in 3 days is some really, really good recreation. So if you look at the amount of money he brings in toward the amount of money he's spending, to him, this is like somebody, like one of us, going to get a Moscato or a six-pack. This is nothing to him.
Right. Yeah, but, when you're getting into that lifestyle, and I've known people that don't have a house to sleep in, a pot to, I know people that don't have anything, but if they get $10, they're going to go. So we're talking about two things. I do agree, that we have the list of the famous people, but then there are also people that overdose every day that are just regular folks. So I think it's a combination of I got so much money and I'm going to do, I'm going to just spend it, splurge it. I'm Michael Jackson. But also I think you also have that population that are just sick. They're mentally ill. They're addicts. They're not, they're not making the healthiest choices. And I think I guess our society looks at it differently, that I've had in the past probably 6 months, 3 or 4 clients die of overdose, but they weren't in the newspapers. But then when you have a Lamar Odom or something like that, so for me, I see, just like you, I do see the big celebrities, but I also see the little people that we call them. But I think it's so much bigger than just that. I think it's just a sickness and a mental illness that we are not addressing. We only really look at it when a superstar dies, and it's unfortunate.
Okay,
yeah,
I
think you're right about that.
I think, there's 2 things I think we're overlooking. I'm going to name 2 guys, and I'm sure, some people you will recognize them right away when I say Michael Irving and Troy Aikman. They are known as the cocaine cowboys. When they were hyped up on cocaine and they were getting championships, nobody really, he's a bad person. The second thing is, to become an NBA player, you have to get elected. You're first in high school, you're the best in the city. Mm-hmm. When you go to college, you're the best in the nation. When you go to the pros, you're the best in the world. So to blame it on other things like his mental fortitude was strong enough to beat continually other players for his position in the world. So he had the mindset of doing what he needed to do. I think to blame it on, I think he just, you get out there and you get like a Richard Pryor. You just do it. I think it was one of my favorite persons is David Chappelle. It was like, cocaine is a hell of a drug. And, it's just, you can't, some things you shouldn't try, and he tried it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with you from that point, especially for people that are coming up, and then it's like you did everything right to this point, but then you're talking about people who didn't have that. But then I always talk out 2 sides of my mouth, because then there are those people, it goes back to choice, because then there are those people who didn't have it great coming up, but they made a choice to make, a better choice for their lives. So, right. But I do feel like a lot of it goes back to that mental health, that mental illness. It touches all of our families in our lives, and if you don't get a grasp of it when there is an obvious problem, that can and will lead to other issues. I've had superstars in our program. I've seen them all, so I know that there is something else missing within that person. But I agree with you. It does go back to choice at some point. It's a choice.
I just feel that, we're spending so much time talking about Lamar Odom, and just like he was saying, there are people who struggle with this every day. I don't feel sorry for superstars, celebrities, athletes that fall into this addictive pattern, because we've seen it so many times before. And I just feel like, what Key was saying about them being weak, and, you have to make a choice. When you see how it affects your health, how it affects your loved ones, I would just hope that you would try to make the choice that is the right choice. And especially athletes, they need their bodies to perform. And, I don't think that we hear as much about, the type of drug abuse that Lamar Odom was doing in the professional sports. So I'm just wondering, what makes it so different that, we don't hear about Kobe Bryant, having a drug addiction, or LeBron James. So I feel like there is a choice that he could have made, especially when he saw, his loved ones around him dying. And, I just don't know if he reached out to get that help. And, I don't know, I feel like even if, he comes through this, will he make better choices, or will he still continue to make poor choices? So, these people who are losing their lives to drugs, like, to me, it's just all in vain if, we're not trying to, maybe when people saw him going down that path with as much influence that the Kardashians have and the money that they have, doing something to redirect him, doing something to try to get him some help. And, and I think they knew what was going on their show, and they didn't publicize it. They didn't say, oh, well, he's struggling, and maybe they were trying to keep, but they really, you need to bring it. You need to, it needs attention,
But like what you just said about the Kardashians knowing, there's a possibility they didn't know. People actually, it's so funny that what you said about Kobe Bryant. You said, how come we don't hear about him and drugs or anything like that? The reason why is because he already messed up with his wife, and that was publicized, so he ain't trying to be in the media anymore. Trust this. But people have been also criticizing Kobe Bryant on not helping Lamar Odom with his drug fetish that he has. And, we don't know the whole situation. We don't know if Kardashians knew, if Kobe, Lamar Odom, he probably could have hit it. He could have made it seem like, oh, I'm only doing weed. Or
it was obvious. It's pretty obvious that he was going there.
I think there's a thing that goes with this that we are maybe overlooking, and it's the undertone, addictive personality. It doesn't matter whether it's drugs, alcohol, shoe fetishes. Some people, they just have addictive personalities, and people can reach out to you. But if you are in self-denial, you can get all the help you want. The hoarders. We have a TV show on people who have an addictive personality to keeping things in their house or in their car or wherever they keep it, and we don't see this as just as lethal or fatal as drugs. So it's like a roof leak. It's never where it's dripping. It's somewhere else. He just had a weak personality. Look at his record. Look at his stats. Look at the way he played basketball. He just was a weak guy.
Right. So I think the main issue, or what should be said about all of this, is that no matter how many friends you have or how many friends you have around you, we cannot stop you from doing what you want to do. If you have that weak mind, if you want to do something, you're going to do it. The only person that can help Lamar Odom is Lamar Odom. If he wants to really get out of it, he has to be the one willing to get out of it. You can be supportive when he wants to get out of it, but even with that, he has to be strong enough to overcome this addiction. We can try to, as best friends, we can go ahead and try to talk to our loved ones and say, stop doing that. But like what MJ said, is that if they're weak-minded, they're in a trap within themselves. They have to fight that box that they put themselves in and get out of it themselves. That's the only person that can help them. Anybody?
I agree. It's one thing we have to do. And what Rain said earlier, I think we all have to help each other, because we all have a friend who's susceptible to drugs is the next thing. Right now, a lot of some of the people who have died from is Kurt Cobain was a big drug addict before he committed suicide. Whitney Houston was trying to come back before she used drugs. So I think one of the things is part of it is rejection, depression, recognizing some of these things and trying to help our friends out. And then the big thing that's gonna have to change it is when we police the information. If we are exploiting the little people who overdose on drugs just as well as we exploit or publicize Lamar Odom, then I think it'll come back. And at the same time, we got to take it out of music. We got people talking about popping mollies. Ain't nobody tested the side effects and all of this. So once again, everything makes doing drugs cool until you die from doing drugs.
Right. I agree with you 100%. It's in our music heavy, and our children are listening to this, and they don't know what it is. They just hear the song, they hear the beat, and they're talking about popping mollies, or they're talking about the cocoa. Because at first I didn't know what that meant. I thought they were really talking about cocoa. I really thought that, and it had a really good beat, and I'm like, okay, until someone told me, and I'm like, oh, okay. And when we were younger and we used to watch videos used to be cute. Now videos gotten so serious and so seductive. Kids can't watch videos. If you want your kids to watch videos, okay, we'll see what kind of future they're going to have. I don't believe in children watching certain videos. I don't believe in children watching or listening to the music that they're playing on the radio. Just because they bleep out a word doesn't mean you can't figure out what they bleeped out.
Right. And with with some of the drugs that are out right now, they're cool drugs. Ecstasy supposed to make you feel erotic. So you take Lamar Odom's situation, and he didn't just do drugs. Lamar Odom mixed the strongest drug, sex, with drugs. So you're going with your wife. You got a nice, whatever she was, whatever cost $75,000 worth of woman, sitting in front of you saying, "Here, try this." That's some pressure. That's some extreme peer pressure. Now, for $75,000, and I'm not saying that it's bad, but for $75,000, I'm sure any woman out there would, hey, why don't you drink some of this? I would suggest, if you were going to give me $75,000, I might suggest some things you might want to try to especially if we're at 25 and you're like, well, I got another 25. Well, here, why don't we try some cocoa? Why don't we try some ginger ale mixed with Fruitopia? I don't know what I would have gave him for $75,000. He would have been gone, though. He would have been in a coma, that's for sure.
I'm like, if he would have offered me $75,000, I was like, let me go pay my bills. Because that's what's important to me right now. So,
right, $75,000, you would have gave me. He might have found overtime.
My bills that will pay my bills for the year, okay, right. And then some. So, but I wish the best for Lamar Odom. I pray that he gets out of this coma and out of this constant tug of war battle that he's in with the drugs. And maybe this is praying that he does wake up. When he do, then maybe it'll help him turn his life around. Like, oh my gosh, I almost slipped away. So I'm praying for the best for him. Okay, well, our health minute is going to be about coffee today. And also, it's not only coffee, it's about how we can actually boost our energy without coffee. And then we can hear about the pros and cons of coffee. So I did a little bit of research, and what I found was a way to boost your energy without drinking coffee. Surprisingly, watching a cute cat and puppy video. That's one way. Research has shown it improves your mood. It also increases your attention span. There's two hormones that it affects. Your oxytocin, which is your positive outlook, and also your cortisol, which is it creates stress. So watching a cute video, your oxytocin will increase and your cortisol will decrease with watching cute videos, and it will also increase your attention span because you'll be engaged in watching the video. So that would help boost your energy. The second thing that I've read about boosting energy is drinking plenty of water. If you're dehydrated, it can lead to fatigue, confusion, and heart palpitation, and it can cause you to faint. Your body is 50 to 65% of water, and it needs to keep at least that percentage and not fall under that amount, because even if it falls under 1% of that 50 to 65, it can affect you like what I said, with the fatigue and the confusion, heart palpitations. But there's a lot of pros and cons of coffee, and what do I know? I don't drink coffee, one, but, I'm not a nurse. But wait a second. We do have a nurse on the line with us today. Joining us today is Michelle Thompson. She's a nurse and also the president of Happy People Nonprofit. So welcome, Michelle.
Hey, good afternoon, Jess. Good afternoon, Rain, MJ, Nicole, Key. Nice to have a conversation with you guys this afternoon on coffee.
Yes, nice. Thank you so much for joining the Situation Room. And how is your day today?
My day is doing great because I am on I-5, the heat. What better way to get my afternoon started? I don't need coffee.
Well, go ahead and please start off by telling us about your background as a nurse, and then tell us more about your company, the Happy People Nonprofit Organization.
Okay, well, thank you guys. Yes, my background is in nursing, and one of the reasons why I became a nurse is because when my grandfather was sick in the hospital, one of the things that I realized is that the nurses there, they weren't paying attention to the things that he was saying was wrong with him. And I realized, especially in our older population, that people believe that they're demented, they're senile, and so they don't take their health as serious. So that's when I decided that I wanted to go to school and become a nurse, especially taking care of the geriatric population, to become that advocate and that voice for them. I've been in healthcare since 2000. I took my boards in 1999, and in 2000 I began my nursing career. And Happy People Nonprofit came about kind of similar to what you guys are talking about in regards to Lamar Odom. That was great dialogue. I think one of the things that people don't realize is people suffer from depression, and it seems that Lamar Odom had a family lineage of depression, and that is hereditary. And if you don't recognize it in your family lineage, then you really don't know what steps to take to identify it in yourself and to combat those negative effects. So because depression is so pervasive in our communities today, I decided that I wanted to start an organization in which people can be happy, but also to focus on 3 areas in regards to our happiness, and that's depression and sadness. Lamar, he needed to surround himself with positive people, encouraging people who were able to recognize that, he's still dealing with issues from childhood in which he hasn't come to grips with in regards to his mother, to get him up and moving. And sometimes people have to be on antidepressants, and then sadness. Depression is long-lasting. However, sadness comes and goes. So that's one area I wanted to focus on. The other area has to do with bullying. We speak a lot about bullying at school, but one area in which a lot of focus is not given or attention is given, and that's bullying in the work environment, especially among women. We discourage one another. We tear each other down. We talk about one another in the work environment, and that causes depression. That causes sadness. And then also, because I am a nurse, it's extremely important to me, especially with the African-American community, to encourage one another to get up and to move. Moving, it increases dopamine levels that make us happy. And even though Lamar Odom was playing basketball, there were other things that he needed to do as far as physical activity is concerned to increase those happy dopamine levels. So depression, bullying, and health and wellness is the premise of Happy People Nonprofit.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations on your company.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Definitely.
Yes. And today, I thank you, Jess, for inviting me here to talk about coffee today. You know, people love coffee. You know, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, everybody, you know, they like having that great start to their day. And I want to ask you guys, how do you get your day started? You know, you had a busy day, you went to bed at night, that alarm clock goes off, and you're like, man, okay, I got to get up and get my day going. How do you guys accomplish that?
Well, I start usually by pressing the snooze button a couple of times. Lately, you know, I don't think I have a problem with getting up, but I did over the summer. I went to the gym. I would get up at 4 and go to the gym, and I do notice how, since I've stopped going, how much less energy I have. And, you know, so I think it's just getting back into the routine of school starting back, and, you know, I just haven't really gotten back into that routine. So I do feel like, you know, my mornings, I'm kind of dragging. So I'm really interested in hearing what you have to say about, you know, maybe giving me a little more energy and getting a little peppier in the morning.
Well, it's funny that once my eyes open, I'm awake. So, and because I'm a small business owner, my business opens when my eyes open. My business closes when my eyes close. So I technically have, I guess, my drive is my coffee. Once I wake up, I'm up. Once I go to sleep, but coffee surprisingly does the opposite to me. I go to sleep or I get sleepy when I drink coffee. So I'm ready to hear something about that.
Okay.
I guess I'm the only coffee drinker, because when I wake up, after I hit the snooze button a couple of times, I get ready, I make me some coffee, and I have my cup of coffee for the day.
Well, you know, many people, they have to have that boost of energy in the morning, and they get it by means of a cup of coffee. You know, at my job, you know, we have a lot of people who come into the break room in the morning, and before they even get started with their work activity, they have to have that cup of coffee. And the ironic thing about it is sometimes it's not just the coffee itself that gets people energized and get them moving, but it's also just the smell of that coffee. You know, kind of like when you're laying in the bed and you smell the coffee brewing, or you smell that breakfast cooking. You know, it kind of awakens the senses. It awakens those olfactory bulbs, and it stimulates you, and you say, okay, it's time to get up. It's time to get my day started. It's time for me to get moving. You know, there's been many studies as in regards to the pros and cons of coffee. Many people feel that coffee has no health benefits. You know, it's not good for your heart. You shouldn't give it to children because it stunts their growth. However, research has been done in regards to coffee, and there are a lot of health benefits to coffee. One of the health benefits that I want to bring to you guys' attention about drinking coffee is that it has antioxidants in it. And antioxidants is something that the body needs because it helps remove the damaging effects of oxidizing agents that we receive in the air. And you say, okay, Michelle, what does that really mean? Well, it just really means that it helps boost our body and our immune system to fight all of the environment that we are encountered with on a day-to-day basis. So you may not like coffee, but when you think about, okay, well, this can help the body feel good, this can make me feel good, then you might want to, you know, reconsider, especially you, Jazz, having that cup a day. And the other thing, reason why we should drink coffee is that coffee is good for your liver. You know, a lot of people don't think about liver health, but it's really good for your liver. You know, there was a study published in 2006. The study included 125,000 people, and over a 22-year period, it showed that those who drank at least 1 cup of coffee per day, they were 20% less to develop liver cirrhosis. And I just want to bring this to you guys' attention. The liver is the only organ in the body that regenerates itself. So just to know that in addition to having this organ that regenerates itself, you also have something that can help keep that organ healthy. How cool is that?
Wow.
You have opened my eyes. I love you.
Yeah.
Because often when I'm drinking my coffee, I'm like, oh, really shouldn't is bad for me. But, you know, I just love it.
Yeah. And I want to share this with you because we were talking about depression and suicide and, you know, feelings of unhappiness. Harvard School of Public Health, you know, they did a study, and what they determined is that by drinking 2 to 4 cups of coffee per day, it reduced the risk of suicide in men and women by 50%. So the proposed reason is that coffee acts as a mild antidepressant. You know, it aids in the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and noradrenaline. These are neurotransmitters that get our body moving and helps us to feel good, especially dopamine. The higher level of dopamine that you have in your body, the higher level of happiness and self-worth that you have. So I thought that was pretty cool, too, to know that drinking coffee actually can make me feel better. MJ, you talked about athletes, and if I'm not mistaken, I think you said you had a background as an athlete. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so how do you think coffee may help an athlete?
We were told we shouldn't drink it because the caffeine gave us false energy, so we kind of stayed away from it. But tell me, because I'm trying to get back into running marathons.
Okay, well, I'm just going to tell you that caffeine increases, and this is according to the New York Times, you know, and what they report that scientists and athletes have known for years that coffee can increase your performance, but like you said, it's a false sense of performance. However, caffeine increases the number of fatty acids in the bloodstream, and so that allows athletes' muscles to absorb and to burn those fats for fuel. So it saves the body's small reserves of carbohydrates later on in working out or doing the exercise or whatever physical activity that athlete is participating in. So really, truly, you're burning the caffeine off first with your performance, and then you're saving your carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is what gives us energy. That's kind of like in your reserves. So you're able to use the carbohydrates later to keep the body going. How cool is that?
Wow. That's real cool. So now I drink a cup of coffee before I do my weekend.
Yes.
So now what about for me, for example? I mean, I get extremely sleepy when I drink coffee. It doesn't boost my energy. I think it's because it's warm or close to being hot. And, like, I keep a heater under my desk at work. So, first of all, I don't drink coffee. So if I have my heater on under my desk, I am falling asleep. Now, if I turn my heater off and I start to get a little chilly, I am awake, but I'm shivering and I don't want to write anything. So I would like to drink coffee to receive that boost of energy.
Well, I mean, and you may not necessarily need that cup of coffee to boost your energy because, Jess, you have a high dopamine level as it is. You're always and moving, and your mood is always one that's encouraging, and you're happy by just nature. And then it may have something to do with the fact that you said heat does make you feel a little bit more sleepy. You know, you
right.
have that comfort, you have that warmth that's surrounding you. So, yeah, you are more apt to go to sleep. But like we said, when you turn the heat off and you have that cold, it kind of stimulates you to get going. I know
right.
someone like that as well who says, you know, they can drink coffee and go to bed because it doesn't stimulate them. So it's just learning your body. The same caffeine may not have the same effect in a person like yourself. You may need more coffee, you know, to feel the effect of the stimulant, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, if that makes any sense. The other thing I want to bring to you guys' attention is, you know, we hear a lot about diabetes in the community, especially among African Americans, and research has shown that coffee and people who drink coffee who have type 2 diabetes, you know, it lowers those effects. You know, they found that people who drink 4 or more cups of coffee per day who don't have diabetes they have a reduced chance of developing type 2 diabetes by 50%. So I think that's pretty good, too, because you were saying, Jazz, earlier that when you do drink coffee, you like to have, like, a lot of sugar in it. And I see people just packing so much sugar into their coffee. Well, that raises the blood sugar levels, but then you have that counterbalance with the antioxidants and with the caffeine in the coffee to bring those blood sugar levels down. So, I mean, how cool is that as well? And how about intelligence? Did you guys know that coffee may make you more intelligent?
No,
I knew
definitely
that.
did not know that.
I knew that. Pretty intelligent.
Okay. Well, let me just say this, because I know this is like, it's coffee, guys. But when you drink coffee when you're sleep deprived, that's why people drink coffee, because they're sleep deprived and they need energy. Well, that also jolts the person awake, but it makes them more sharper. According to CNN, it reports that coffee allows your brain to work in a much more efficient and smarter way. Time Reporter says that when you're sleep deprived and you take caffeine, pretty much anything you measure will improve. Your reaction time is going to improve. Your diligence is going to improve. Your attention, your logical reasoning, all of that's going to improve. And I can testify. Who's my other coffee drinker out there? There was someone else. Who was that?
It's me. It's Keith.
Okay. Keith, when you drink coffee, don't you feel a little bit more alert, a little bit more energetic?
I do. I really do.
Mhm. Yeah. You feel like you're more the game.
Wow. I mean, so forget about me being sleepy. I would be Einstein in my sleep if I drink coffee.
Well, let's talk about some of those other ways to boost your energy. Because obviously you don't need coffee, Jazz. You talked about water earlier. People don't realize that sometimes their energy level is low because they're dehydrated. That's one of the things that you talked about. And you also spoke about looking at the cute little movies, how it increases certain levels, the cortisol level in the body. But there are other things that we can do if we decide not to drink coffee to increase our energy. Do any of you guys work out?
I do.
Not on a regular basis, no.
I do.
Okay. Well, I'm really going to encourage you guys to seek the benefits of working out, to seek the benefits of getting physically active. And I want you to do a comparison. I want you guys one day to start your day like you normally do without working out, and then I would encourage you to start your day working out, because physical activity, it does increase our energy level, and that's why you hear so much about parking your car far in parking lots and walking to whatever place you're going to, or if you're in a building that has stairs, take the stairs and don't take the elevator. That's because that physical activity, again, increases dopamine levels, but it also boosts our energy. My daughter is a sophomore in college, and she was having trouble focusing and her energy level because, they're up late at night studying. And I encourage her to increase her energy level by walking and exercising. And she called me on the phone, and she was like, Mom, you're right. I have more energy. So boost your energy by working out. I want to encourage you guys to do that. Jazz, you mentioned that you like fruit, right? You like fruit and vegetables.
That's right.
Another way to boost your energy is to make a smoothie. Do you guys like smoothies?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Love them.
Yes. What type of fruits and vegetables do you guys like?
I like strawberries, bananas, pineapples.
That's the ones I eat as well in the morning.
Yes. Well, you can take all of those fruits that you like, and you can put them in milk or soy milk and fruit, put some ice in it to kind of thicken it up, crush ice. Add a little fiber because that'll help make it healthy, as well as wheat germ and some flaxseed, and that will give you that boost that you need in the morning to get your day going. And then another way to boost your energy if you're feeling fatigue is to just go in the bathroom and splash some cold water on your face. And that's kind of the effect, Jazz, that you're getting when you turn your heat off and you get cold. That cold air, it gives you a quick boost of energy.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are some good things to do. Y'all were talking about music earlier with Lamar Odom and how the music is not good, but, you know, you guys have that song that you really like that gets your head bebopping and your hands snapping or popping and your head moving?
Yes.
You know, yeah. So music also is a great way to boost your energy, listening to music. You know, music is uplifting. It creates moods in us, happiness, sadness. But when we're having sad days and we listen to music, we just feel uplifted. When we're in our car sitting in traffic or going to work, we're listening to that song that stays in our head all day. And if you may not realize it, but it's what keeps you moving throughout the day. It keeps you energized.
Okay, Michelle, I actually have a question for you.
Yes.
I used to feel that, you know, my energy was kind of fading, especially at night. You know, by 9 o'clock, I would just, you know, pass out. So I started taking B12 vitamins. Can you talk a little bit about vitamins and maybe herbal supplements for energy? Are there any ones that are really, you know, that really work?
Okay, vitamins B12 and B6 are really great vitamins to take to get your energy level up, but also to increase your metabolism, especially if you're trying to control your weight. So one thing I would suggest is if you're going to take B12 because it does boost your energy level and your metabolism, I would take it early in the morning prior to getting your day started because it will give you that boost of energy. If you take it at night, sometimes it will keep you up. You know, your adrenaline is going to be going. So I would definitely say I take B6 and I take B12, but I take it during the daytime. And that's an alternative also to drinking coffee is to increase your vitamin intake. And you can take vitamins in a combination. You can take B6 and B12 together with some fruit juice, and that really will increase your energy levels.
Oh, wow. I did not know that because I was just taking the B12, and it didn't have an effect on me. So, but you said you mix it with, like, juice or, like, B6 as well?
Right. I take B6 and B12, and both of them increases your metabolism and your energy level. And I take it with juice because juice has not just regular juice now. I would suggest a fruit juice or make your own juice in the morning using vegetables and fruit so that you're not getting juice that has a lot of added sugar. Sugar does give you energy, but like MJ was talking about artificial energy a little earlier, you don't want that artificial energy because then you'll have a crash and burn later in the day.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, so that's really good. You ladies love chocolate? Like Valentine's Day, when it comes around, you like chocolate?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Well,
all kinds, white chocolate, any kind of chocolate is good.
Okay. Well, I want to encourage you ladies, and MJ, since you're hearing this as well, I want to encourage you guys to keep eating chocolate. Chocolate is another way to increase your energy levels because chocolate, especially dark chocolate, it acts as a mild stimulant, and it boosts your memory, but it also lowers cardiovascular risk, you know, and it can satisfy cravings that we may have without all of the additional calories that comes from eating other unhealthy things. You know, you can take chocolate, you can mix it with skim milk, and there you have some protein. You have a stimulant, and you have the protein, which is found in milk. And that's another alternative to drinking coffee. I do want to offer this caution in regards to drinking coffee. Coffee is good for you, but one of the cons is that when you start adding the creams, like when you have your cappuccinos that's really heavy in cream and your lattes that are also heavy in cream, you increase the caloric effect or the caloric intake of that coffee. So now you have a stimulant, but now you're packing on the calories. So that would be one disadvantage to drinking certain types of coffee. You don't want to have the ones that are heavy in milk and that are cream-based.
Okay, I got a question kind of. All right. I used to sell coffee. Coffee is like the number 2 commodity in the world besides oil, and it is the number 1 drink sold across the world. So with that, there was a coffee called Organo Gold, and they had Ganoderma. It's supposed to be something antioxidant or some kind of organic nutrient combined with coffee to make it more metabolism friendly and health conscious. It's like organic coffee. Does something, isn't coffee organic already, or do they really enhance it, or can they enhance it?
Well, in the 21st century, people can enhance anything that they want. And I think it's important that when you drink coffee that I see the back too, it says organic. You have to really research the company that's saying that product is organic, because a lot of times what you'll find, MJ, is organic means that they didn't use pesticides, that they didn't put any additives on there that could be potentially harmful to humans. So I would definitely say to you, if you said you sold this, I would definitely say whoever you're getting that coffee from, the beans or the ground, to research that company to ensure that it is organic. Organic means that it doesn't have all of those additives and things like that in it.
Okay, I can do that. But I'm going to eat some chocolate and B12, so I'll be a chocolate B12 smoothie with walking down the street and up the elevator, up the stairs. I shouldn't really need coffee for about another 3 days.
Yeah, I know it's a funny topic, but a lot of people, they really are addicted to coffee and they love coffee. The addiction sometimes is not the coffee itself, it's just the caffeine. And sometimes when you drink coffee so much, you can just smell it and it arouses you. It kind of wakes you up. But I would say this, everything has to be done in moderation, because drinking a lot of coffee, especially when you get into the 3 and 4 cups per day, your heart rate is going faster, is beating faster. And that blood is circulating a lot of palpating. It is a lot faster. So you want to be careful that you're not raising your heart level to a number that it shouldn't be. And I don't know if you guys have ever drank 5-Hour Energy, but if you look at the bottle, it cautions you that if you have already had coffee that day, and the caffeine is what people are seeking in the coffee, if you already had coffee that day, the equivalent of a 5-Hour Energy equals 3 to 4 cups of coffee. So that's a lot of caffeine packed in that small little bottle. So that's another caution when it comes to drinking coffee. You don't want to take a 5-Hour Energy when you've already consumed several cups of coffee.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to tell you guys is, how do you guys feel about chewing gum? Like, people don't chew gum like they used to, but chewing gum. Any gum chewers?
I used to, but I stopped in the last year or two.
I used to until it started breaking my teeth, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, occasionally I'll chew gum, but it's not something I do on a regular basis.
Okay, well, there are some gum out there, some brands of gum out there that are friendly towards our teeth. But I do want to say that chewing gum, especially mint-flavored gum, it also boosts your energy, because that mint is what stimulates your nerve fibers. So it goes back again to a comparison of splashing cold water on your face. When you increase your nerve fibers, you're stimulating yourself, you're energizing yourself. So that's another alternative to drinking coffee.
Okay, Michelle, I have a question. You're talking about the benefits of coffee and the energy that it gives you. But what about if you don't want the caffeine? So decaffeinated coffee, will that give you the same other benefits that you mentioned?
The benefit that decaffeinated coffee will give you is just opening up those olfactory bulbs, because you're smelling it, is getting in your senses. But really, truly, as far as a stimulant is concerned, It's the caffeine in the coffee that boosts your energy level. So decaffeinated coffee will not have the same effect as caffeinated coffee.
But you still can get the other benefits that you mentioned.
The antioxidants?
Yes. Here. Okay, all right.
Yes, you still can get the benefits of antioxidants. And I haven't done a whole lot of research on decaffeinated coffee, but the last time I did research decaffeinated coffee, they actually said that decaffeinated coffee was not as healthy for you as caffeinated coffee.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, again, what I encourage people to do is, because we live in the age of information technology, it's kind of like it wasn't this way before. Before, you had to take what people said because you didn't have access to information. But today we have access to a wealth of information, and so we can inform ourselves greatly before we decide to participate in something or consume something in our bodies.
Wow.
Okay, and the last thing I wanted to tell you guys, as far as boosting your energy, is like when you're sitting at your desk, you're at work and you're bored, you've been doing the same task for a long time. Research shows that if you engage your brain in something different, that'll also make you more alert. So if your job is keying in data and you've been doing it for a while, it's good to switch tasks. Maybe go check your emails, or maybe get up and take a walk, or make a to-do list, or go have conversation, take a break with your friends. Switching tasks, it increases our energy level. It makes us focus and concentrate on something different. A fatigue management specialist, John Caldwell, he's a former NASA researcher. He said that you can actually overcome a good bit of sleep pressure just by engaging in something interesting. So if we're sitting at our desk and we're getting sleepy, we're doing the same task, let's just get up and do something different.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because when I find myself sleepy, I used to drive a lot. So when I find myself sleepy, I want to talk. I get on the phone and have a conversation. And I do it. Like this whole, like everything we're doing today, I was going to be asleep today, but I'm awake.
When I'm driving, I turn on the country channel.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that, MJ, because driving can become monotonous, and you're in the car and you're just looking at signs and you do get sleepy. So, I'm glad you brought that point out. Even though they don't recommend talking and driving, but if you can put that person on speakerphone and, just talk and listen to music, that's another thing. That's a great way of changing up that task to keep you energized.
This is a lot of information on coffee. I just did not know it was out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there. And when it comes to health and wellness, guys, there's so much information out there. And, some topics can be fun and engaging, and some topics are more of a serious nature. So in regards to coffee, I want to say it's serious, but it's also fun, because coffee comes in wonderful flavors. There's hazelnut, there's vanilla. This time of year they have pumpkin spice, which is really good. That's the fun stuff about coffee. You can have great conversation drinking coffee. You can meet some great people at Starbucks. You just sit there, have a cup of coffee, bring your laptop. It's a great environment to meet new people and to learn new things. The dangers, or the serious part about coffee, is, you don't want to overindulge, because, again, too much of one thing is not a good thing.
Right. Well, fantastic, Michelle. I want to thank you so much for giving us that information on coffee. And, congratulations to Happy People Nonprofit. Tell me, any events coming up for your company?
Yes, I would like to let everybody know that my first event is coming up on December 19th. And if you live in Columbia, it's going to be held at EdVenture Museum. It's December 19th from the hours of 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Our keynote speaker is Tamika Devine. She's going to speak on Ladies Rule Your World. That's the name of the event. And really the event is designed to encourage women to be supportive and encouraging of one another instead of tearing one another down. We have Dr. Michelle Rojas. She is a physician in the community. She is going to give the State of Women's Health address. I'm looking forward to that. We have Lisa Williams. She is a physical therapist. She's going to speak to attendees on the importance of getting up and moving. And then we have two local designers here in Columbia, Teresa and Darlene. We're going to be putting on a fashion show showing women what the lady who rules her world look like. And so I'm really excited about this event. It's the first event for my organization.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I just want to let everybody know that Jazz is modeling in the fashion show.
I made it.
Is this like I went to the Women's Health Heart with Valerie Burton? So just I'm not from Atlanta, but can men attend? Can men come out and support? Okay.
Yes, I've had a couple of men ask me, can they come, and they are most definitely welcome because they can be the deciding factor in helping their lady friend or their wife, feel good about herself, not in comparison to another woman. And then that man may receive pointers on, how to help women. I think that's cool. I think that's just fair.
All right, and wait till we go to time more.
Well, Michelle, tell us how we can get in touch with you and your company. Give us all your contacts.
Okay. You can follow me on www.facebook.com/Happy People Nonprofit. It's all joined together. My Facebook page updates what I've been doing in the community. It also updates upcoming events. It lets you know which organizations that I'm working with to encourage and empower the community. If you want to reach me personally, you're more than welcome to contact me at 803-445-3993.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please stay on. We have one more segment. And just stay on. If you have any input on it, just go ahead and chime in at any time. That'll be fine. That'll be great.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for making me feel welcome, Jazz, Rain, MJ, Nicole, and Keith.
Here now with more news, debate, and opinion.
Yes, the Democratic debate was Wednesday, October the 13th, and it was fantastic. The people that are candidates is Hillary Clinton, First Lady, January 20th to January 20th, 1993 to January 20th, 2001. She's also a senator of New York, was a senator of New York, January 3rd, 2001, January 21st, 2009. Also, the 67th U.S. Secretary of State, January 21st, 2009 to February 1st, 2013. We have Bernie Sanders, Senator of Vermont, January 2007. He's also the Senator Committee of Veterans Affairs, January 3rd, 2013 to January 2nd, 2015. We have Martin O'Malley. He's the governor of Maryland, January 17, 2007 to January 21st, 2015. Jim Webb, Senator of Virginia from January 3rd, 2007 to January 3rd, 2013. And last is Lincoln Casey, Senator of Rhode Island, November 4th, 1999 to January 3rd, 2007. It was a fantastic debate. Hillary Clinton, she had about 31 minutes and 5 seconds of speaking. Bernie Sanders had 28 minutes and 5 seconds. Martin O'Malley had 17 minutes, 56 seconds. Jim Webb had 15 minutes, 35 seconds, and Lincoln Casey had 9 minutes, 11. He was very, mild and very pleasing and very pleasant. I really liked him a lot. He didn't talk as much as everybody else did. Jim Webb, he didn't talk as much either at 15 minutes and 35 seconds, and he was getting kind of hot about not having his say. He was like, you let them talk over their time. I'm going to talk now. So, he was hot about that. The two people they focused on, of course, is Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. The threat, feel the burn. Like I said, I can't keep stressing how fantastic the debate was. The papers kept stating that Hillary won that first round, but let's look at that closely. CNN is owned by CNN is owned by Time Warner, and Time Warner is one of Hillary Clinton's top contributors. So, stands to make you say, I feel Bernie has addressed all the topics that need to be addressed, and he was very passionate about what he spoke about. I think his downfall was about the gun control. That's when people kind of, didn't know what to think or where to place him. But as far as everything else, let me go back to the gun control. He feels with the gun control that you need to, they need to do a background check on whoever's going to purchase a gun, which is kind of, they've been lenient on the background check. So I don't understand that all these crazy people walking around here with guns, people walking in just your general stores with guns, for what reason? I don't understand that. I don't like going into a restaurant and seeing your average Joe with a gun on his waist. So I agree with Bernie as far as the background check. It needs to be heightened, though. I mean, it needs some serious stipulations need to be put in place when it comes to the background check, because we don't need so many people walking around with guns unless we're going to do away with guns altogether. But as far as all the topics being addressed, I think Bernie Sanders is the man. I am going for Bernie Sanders. There's just too much to say about Hillary Clinton that I'd rather not. So I'm just not supporting that side too much. Those are the top two. What do you guys think? Who do you guys go for? What's the situation? Rain, go.
Oh, okay. Well, something that I strongly believe in is not actually revealing or trying to I don't want to influence people negatively or positively about who they support for president. I just think it's really important that people get out and vote. But I can tell you who I feel did the best job as far as the debate is concerned in backing up their statements. I actually really like Martin O'Malley. I had never heard of him, prior to the debate, but I just think that he was really poised in his answers. I thought that he did a good job. I also think that Chafee did a good job as well. However, he just wasn't as dominant as some of the other participants, so I don't think that his points got heard. He was very passionate about the things that he stood for, but he just wasn't that assertive type, which I think you need a president to be. So, I think he really took a back seat. Martin O'Malley is someone who you can tell cares a lot about the environment, and he was, very passionate about that. Bernie Sanders was just passionate overall, especially when he did respond about Hillary Clinton's emails. And so that's one thing, that I would, I'm not sure if I want a president to be, as passionate about certain issues. I want them to be able to think things through. Hillary Clinton, I think she was well prepared. She was very prepared for the answers that she gave. She knew that she was going to be hit about her emails and Benghazi, and her answers, they almost seemed to be rehearsed because she was so well prepared. But again, she managed to stay cool, calm, and collected. And then Jim Webb, I really don't know what to say about him. He spent too much time arguing with Anderson Cooper instead of the other candidates about, his lack of time that he was given. And I think instead of focusing on the questions and making an impact, he made the wrong type of impact. Overall, I thought that all the candidates did a really good job. You could tell a huge difference between the Democratic debate and the Republican debate. First of all,
yes.
A lot fewer candidates, but they were more cordial to each other. There were a couple of times when Bernie Sanders, he gave Jim Webb a pat on his back, and then when he made a comment about Hillary's emails, they shook hands. So it just seemed it was a lot more lighthearted. The audience seemed to be more involved too. They got a lot of cheers. There were a lot of lots of applause, and overall, I just think that they did a really good job. They focused on issues that that we're really concerned about. One thing that I also thought that they did a good job was about, or that they mentioned student loan debt. And the Republican presidential debate, they didn't mention student loans at all. And so, if we want to focus on the next generation, I think that's something important that we have to look at, because, we need to have college be affordable for everyone. And, that is something that they address. So I'm very interested in seeing who is going to move forward in the race. I want to see, like I said, I think O'Malley did a really good job, but I don't know if he'll be at the top of the ticket. I could definitely see him being a vice presidential nominee, but, I'm just not sure if he has, with the two superstars, Bernie and Hillary, I don't see him, overcoming those two. And I don't see the two of them running together. So, I think the next couple of months, I've worked in radio for about 10 years, and so this is just political season is really exciting for me, because it's, anything can happen. Anything can happen. So I'm just really looking forward to see, as we start narrowing down the candidates, and then when we have the Republican and Democratic candidate on the same stage, it's going to be a very wild ride, and we still have a year to go.
Yeah, you know what you said about who is it, Jim Webb. He, like you said, he was doing more arguing with I just draw a blank.
Anderson Cooper.
Anderson Cooper. He was doing more arguing with him about time, but I can see his passion about what he was speaking about, his background, and as far as fixing this, economy, and he has passion behind him. He's definitely not going to be one of the top runners, but yeah, I can see his passion. He didn't really get much time to speak. Like you said, Bernie and Hillary are going to be the top candidates for the Democratic side. So people were more focused on Hillary and Bernie. Like you said, as far as it was a complete opposite of the Republican debate. And we have to fault one person only, basically, for that, and that would be Donald Trump. Which Donald Trump, he was up all night watching the debate, and I was checking his tweets, and he was like, okay, he has to watch these clowns. He can't wait for it to go off the TV, and it was crazy. But it was more like a show watching the Republican debate. It was just craziness going on over there. There was a lot of subjects that they did not address. And, yeah, I wasn't really interested in that one too much. I kind of turned it off after a while because it was doing absolutely nothing for me. MJ, what do you think?
Well, I'm a contradiction. I'm actually a Republican. So it's very interesting watching both debates. Yeah, I know that's a surprise. I mean, my views are Republican. I want people to work for what they get. I don't like handouts. I want to protect my money since I'm a business owner. I plan on making a lot of money, so I want more breaks. But anyway, moving forward, I do think, like Rain said, I think that Hillary was well prepared. This is her second go at it. So, you know, if you failed first grade and you got to repeat it because your mom held you back or whatever, you should be prepared and poised. You know, that's presidential. I think Webb did a very poor job. You run Virginia. Virginia has all of 6 people and they're all related. It's not hard to manage. It's very, you know, and the one instance you get to find out of Black Lives Matter, you talk about your uncle's best friend who you helped get his name on the wall. Like, okay, if I need help filling out an application, great. We have a president who knows how to fill out, you know, the e-health care for Affordable Act. So what? I need you to stop police from shooting people. When it comes to, I want to say, McKinney, you know, to me, I think the people who funded him to be mayor, to be president could have funded me. I could have got up there and said half of the things he said, and since you're not really looking at me, it would have just been good publicity stunt. When it comes to the governor of Maryland, that's where him and Governor Webb, Virginia has nobody, and Maryland has the Washington, D.C. So you really aren't really doing anything when you have so much. Like in Virginia, you have nobody, and in Maryland, you have the superpowers. So it's kind of lopsided. You really didn't have to do anything. You were handed a controllable or manageable state. When it comes to Bernie, to me, addressed everything the way it needed to be addressed. He addressed it, to me, he reminds me more of Mitt Romney when it comes to his thinking. I want clear, I want concise, I'm not spending money, I want it to be ethical. He wants ethics to return to the White House. What an outstanding conundrum. I mean, you're talking to Hillary Clinton, who 90% of her vote is coming because she's been in the spotlight for the last 16 years. I mean, right. She's been there. I think his take on gun control, my take on gun control, then I'll address his. The people who carry guns are not the people we worry about. You can do all the instant background checks and all of that. I was born in Detroit, Michigan. I lived on the south side of Chicago. You can get a gun quicker than you could get a FAFSA through. You can get a gun faster than you can get a hot and ready from Little Caesars. I mean, that's the gun control. Controlling the NRA is not going to stop anything. You got to stop the cops who bust the drugs, who get paid $50,000 to release the guns that they busted, and they back on the street. You got to stop the Walmart from selling the bullets to the people. I mean, you got to background check so much. So the people with the guns on their hip in the store, if you shoot me, they can find you. It's the dude who walked into the store behind him. We don't know he got a gun, and he about to hold this joint up. So I agree with Bernie when he says we got to do more instant background checks if we're going to make guns legal. If we're going to make guns legal, then we have to do more background checks. I think the one thing that needs to be done with guns, and it needs to be mandatory, is the first 5 rounds need to be rubber, so that we can stop people from getting hot like cops. They're authorized to have guns. They're doing as much killing as people who are not supposed to have guns. So I think gun control is not an issue that anybody in the presidency, whether it be Donald, Ben, Bernie, or Hillary, none of them can combat the amount of money that guns bring in. You're talking about, hey, if you don't get it, I'll get the vice president. I'll buy somebody in Congress. That's just like stopping the internet, stopping when a couple months ago they were going to regulate the internet. So I think no one is going to have a good enough answer for this country. But overall, Bernie is the most equipped with McKinney to run as a vice. Hillary would have to bring in somebody who wasn't on stage. McKinney could take Bernie in with him and do a reverse Biden and Obama. But other than that, I really don't think America is ready to go from African American to woman or to Jewish. That we're asking America to do a lot of changing, and I think they're really not ready for that.
Oh goodness, that's sad to say. That is so very.
It is sad, but we just locally we fussed at Haley for taking down a flag of people who lost a war over 60 years ago. People are fussing about that. So we talk about how the race card of African American and Muslims and everything. So I think I don't think America can't do it. Let's not say that we're not able to. I just don't think that after 2 terms of Obama, that we are forward-thinking enough to say we need a level-headed person like Bernie in office. We need a level-headed person like Ben Carson in office. We need level-headed. If anything, my God's honest truth, I wish he would do it. If Mitt Romney would run this term, I think we need a businessman, and I think a Mitt Romney, a Ross Perot, somebody who has a business mind outside of being Republican or Democrat. I think we need a businessman to now run America as opposed to a loudmouth businessman like Donald Trump or a passionate person who's strictly ethics like Bernie Sanders.
I feel completely opposite of that. I feel that America is ready. We are ready for a woman president if we have the proper candidate. I'm not saying because Hillary is a woman, I'm going to vote for her. No, she has to have everything that qualifies to become the next president. I don't think she has that. Like you said, her name is known because she's been in office for X amount of years, 16 years plus, because her husband was president. And that's what gives her so much light. And see, Bernie has been dealing with politics, and he's been in this arena for longer than anyone on that stage could even imagine or was even born, almost like, because and nobody knows about him. That's the deal. He is not taking funding from, oh gosh, I can't think of the word right now. I just do a blank.
He's not taking private funding. He did, I think, 30,000 houses, 30,000 residents, and like $30 or something. 300,000 residents.
That's
$30.
Right. It's $30 from each person that wants to contribute to his, him running. As far as guns is concerned, I feel like I prefer guns be done away with, period, because everybody makes me scared. I don't know who you are. I don't want to see a gun on your waist because I don't know if you're crazy or not. So if there was some possible way where guns can disappear from everybody's hands, that would be fantastic. But since we're dealing with reality, I like what Bernie has said about, high security with the background checks and all. There was something else that you have said. I feel we are ready for someone as powerful as Bernie. He's viewed as like the socialist, and they're saying, is America ready for a socialist becoming president? Or I don't think that has anything to do with it. I feel like Bernie can do the job. What you said, he addressed all the topics. He's passionate about what he says. He talked about going to school for free. He talked about health care. He had it all. He had everything that we needed to hear. And I don't think he's just saying this, and then once he gets in office, like most of the presidents that have gotten into office, they'll go ahead and promise you this, that, and the other, and then as soon as they get in there, it's nothing. Bush. But anyway,
I think America. America.
But,
I don't think America could be bought, and that's his. He doesn't want a bought American. I think his problem is going to be who else on that stage or else in a running would go. Is Abraham Lincoln would have been his best vice president, because we need somebody who has that same integrity. That's why I said it's a difficult for him to get someone, or him and Hillary are going to have the hardest match vice when it comes when it comes down to it.
Right. I agree. I don't think that let's say if Hillary won, he's not going to back her up. No, I think that's just not.
Right, they're just too extreme.
Yeah, they're not gonna work together. Yeah, they're polar opposites. So, but hey, I'm all Bernie all the way. I love everything he stands for. So, Rain, what do you want to say?
I think he wanted to say something.
MJ?
No. Well, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying I think that is my issue being a Republican is that I now see the Democrats doing and saying what he has to say. Bernie, I think, is a little. I want Bernie to. I want him to be passionate. I want America to choose him. At the same time, I want him to. When you said about the guns. We have a saying in the streets: locks are for honest people. Gun control is for honest people, people who are going to do right by guns. So I think that's going to be a challenge, because what he's speaking to America that does right, and Hillary and O'Malley are speaking to America that don't care.
Okay. That's a good point.
That was powerful what you said, MJ. I was listening to the conversation. What I want to say about Bernie Sanders and gun control, and I think this is something that we as Americans should consider, is when our forefathers felt that men should bear arms, the purpose of that was to protect their land. What we have to keep in mind is that America today is different from the United States of America that our forefathers founded. One of the reasons why people have guns today is because they're not trying to protect their land. They're not trying to protect their family. They're trying to commit acts of violence. So while we're trying to control gun issues, we need to also see how can we tear down and break down those barriers that cause people to have guns in the first place. You know, if you have all of these people out there that are committing random acts of violence, going up and shooting schools, how can we counteract that? You know, and I think that's one of the things that the candidates should also be considering. It's not guns, it's the people. You know, you need the person to shoot the gun. So we need to have stiffer penalties for, one, individuals who have guns and they don't have a permit, they don't have a license, they didn't go through proper channels. And then also they need to consider if we should have a maximum amount of guns that a person can purchase every 10 years. You know, why does a person have to have 5 and 6 guns? 2 is the maximum every 10 years. You know, and can we create tougher penalties for those who carry guns illegally? Those are issues that our candidates should be talking about. And when we look at our candidate of choice, we need to write down the questions or the concerns and issues that we have. And we need to see, is that candidate addressing all of our concerns and issues? Or are they just on stage looking beautiful and entertaining us? People can say what we want to hear, but when they get in office, are they going to act upon what we need? And I think that's important. That's something that we should think about.
Yes. You know, one thing, what you just said, Michelle, that's very important. A person running for president. Okay. Bernie Sanders. Have we seen Bernie on SNL? I don't recall seeing Bernie on SNL. You, anybody?
No, I don't think he's been on SNL. I don't think he's been on any of the late night talk shows.
He doesn't do the public thing, but that's an old school tactic. That is not contributed to, but that could be a hurtful thing because that's how we like our presidents.
That's true. It was cool to see, President Obama on the Night Show, or Clinton, playing his sax. Okay, it was cool. They're hip. Or, what was it? Was it Hillary Clinton that was on one of the talk shows and she was always doing the stinky leg or something? That's what I heard. I did not actually see it.
Oh, gosh.
But, she was actually on SNL as well doing a skit there. Okay, it's cool and everything. But do we need our future president to go on these shows and cut a fool to go ahead and get more votes? That's ridiculous. Go ahead and focus on the points and the issues that we deem as important as Americans, and just be about that. Bernie has done that. I mean, I'm speaking about him just because I love the guy so much. But I just don't, like you said, MJ, it can't either hurt or it can help you. And it helps any candidate to go on these shows and act hip and stuff like that, because that's what we as Americans have found that as being important. When you have American Idol and you have all these reality TV shows, that's what's important to us. When we have more Americans vote on who's going to win Americans Top Model or America's Got Talent or American Idol, you have more Americans voting for that than to pay attention to the politics and the presidential debate. That's ridiculous. I don't need to see my future president on a late night show because, first of all, I'm not really paying attention to the late night show, so I really don't give a rip. But I need that person to address the issues that's important to us.
You have just woken up the consciousness of what Bernie. You are a Bernite, if that is a following sort of say, because what Bernie, you are saying what he's saying. We need conscious voters, and that's what I think the Obama administration started doing when we started following him in the first term, is that we started looking for conscious. When our group, our age, is the 25 to 40 is starting to say, what's going on in politics? We are now starting to pay attention, so we do get that that honest feedback that Donald Trump is a fool. Ben Carson has some decent views. Bernie Sanders is passionate. Hillary Clinton makes sense. She has a plethora of qualities that will help her do better. So I think what you're saying is we don't do that, but at the same time in America, we don't find out anything without social media. We don't find out anything without mainstream media. So it's a double-edged sword. I want somebody who's serious. Okay, don't go on Tonight Show and cut the fool with Jimmy Fallon or anything like that, but go on the Tonight Show so I can see you, so I can get name recognition. That's how Donald Trump is going to win. That's how Hillary Clinton is going to win.
Well, I have to jump in here because as a high school teacher, and you talk about like the voters and them being conscious, we have a generation of kids who are getting ready to vote, that 18-year-old range. They're a bunch of unconscious voters. They have no idea what the issues are, but they do know if they see a candidate on SNL or on Ellen doing the stanky leg, they like it, and they want to see it, and they will, relate to it. So they might not vote based on the issues. They vote based on the candidate's personality. Now, if I were to poll my students, most of them would say they like Donald Trump because of his personality. They know him. They know his name. They've seen him. They recognize him. Bernie Sanders, they don't know a lot about him. Ben Carson, they don't know a lot about him. Carly Fiorina, they don't know about her because they're not out there. So if these candidates want to reach the younger demographic, they do have to do something, outside of the ordinary. I understand that Bernie Sanders wants to be the ethical candidate, but sometimes, you might have to just put that to the side in order to be the popular candidate.
That is so sad. That is really sad to say, though.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I agree wholeheartedly, but I just want to jump in and say that one of the reasons why America is one of the greatest countries in the nation is because we are known as the great melting pot. There's so much variety in America, and I think we need to see that in our president. When America is laughing, our president needs to laugh. When America is crying, our president needs to cry. When America is saying these are the tough issues, we need to address them, our president needs to say, I hear the issues and I want to address them. And that's something important. We don't need a president who acts the same way all the time, because America is not the same way all the time. He needs to be able to relate to all people, all cultures, all backgrounds, not just one way, not just rich, not just poor, because that's not how America is. And our millennials, the kids that are coming up, these kids are talented. They're able to perform a lot of tasks at one time. They watch the television, they tweet, they play games, all simultaneously. And our president needs to show that he has that same ability, not just to be elected, but also to act as president, to perform as president, because that's what it takes to run the country.
Right. I think Rain said something that was – go ahead.
Okay.
No, I think Rain said something that was key about her students when she said, when we were talking about how they are unconscious and they go for names. I think it's unfair in America, and I think that's why America's where we are, is because you have to cut the fool. You have to act this way. You can't be a strong, quality, qualified candidate without being on SNL. That is what I think. That is what allows Donald Trump, who has all the stage power to talk about what he would do to immigration and the dirty Mexicans and all of this, but the guy who shot 9 in the Carolina 9 didn't get 5 minutes. So what we're saying is you can pay to be racist, but if you do it in reality, we're not going to give you the platform. So I think the news media is feeding a candidate like that and being given off the pretense that it's okay as long as you're rich. So it's sad.
I think, I feel like what Rain has said about her students as well is that they love Donald Trump. The reason why they love Donald Trump, like she said, is because of his attitude and how he speaks. And he speaks like an 18-year-old. I mean, he's like, he's talking about how females look like, and he's talking about how females are pigs and dirty pigs, and then he's talking about everybody being ugly or stupid, and the teenagers 18 that can vote, they're gonna go for that. So I'm assuming that the reason why he's getting high numbers is because he's appealing to these younger kids. Nobody our age is going for that mess. So and that's so sad in the world that we live in, that this is how it is, because we have these children going for people that they can. I understand you have to relate to all people. That's fine. But don't act a fool. Don't have to go ahead and tap dance to go ahead and get your crowd. I don't think that's necessary. Bernie's not doing that. The other candidates don't seem to have been doing that as well. But Hillary is doing that. And you will figure that maybe Hillary Clinton would not be playing that role with her being so well known. Why would you be playing that role? It seemed like it would be more of a different candidate that will be doing it. Maybe Jim Webb. No one really knows of who he is, or like Martin O'Malley. Nobody really knows of who he is. He's not well known like Hillary Clinton, and she's over there playing that tap dancing role. I don't think that's necessary in our president.
But Hillary knows that it worked for Barack and it worked for her husband, so she's not stupid. Now, she's playing to what she knows has worked. It's crazy to me to think that Donald Trump will more than likely be at the top of the Republican ticket. This is his third time running, and, everyone for years just thought it was like ludicrous the idea of him actually getting nominated as the candidate. But look at what the publicity that he has. He does Apprentice. He does. He's involved in the Miss Universe and the Miss USA pageant. So he's well known on that level. So as I said, my students, they knew him coming in to the race. They don't know any of those other candidates, and there's a lot of other Republican candidates who I feel are much better choices. But he just has the name recognition. And, if that's what they're going on, I mean, it's really unfortunate. But Hillary Clinton, she also has the name recognition, but, she just has to push a little bit harder because she has negativity associated with her name. So something that Michelle was saying about, the president needs to be able to cry. I feel like if Hillary got president, she could never cry. Like, she, as a woman, it would just show that she's weak. And, it's kind of a little bit upsetting to me that, again, she's running for president and she might not get the nomination. She has to work twice as hard as the men to get the nomination, and she still might not get it. And I just, I think that's sad about our country that we're not ready for a woman president. It's shocking to me that we had an African-American president before we had a woman president. We could possibly have a Jewish president before we have a woman president. And I think that just goes to show how this country views women. That's something that I don't think was addressed enough during the debate, is the inequality that women suffer in this country. So,
but
I think if Hillary, go ahead.
I think Hillary was playing that card very well, that she's a woman and blah, blah, blah. Okay, Jan, I would love a woman to be president. It has to be the right one. I don't feel like
who has a better qualification than Hillary Clinton? She's been Secretary of State. She's been married to the president. If you can find another woman who can run this country better than Hillary Clinton, you need to show her to me, because I just don't think there is one.
Okay, well, first of all, Hillary got scandals all behind her name. That's one. And then, two, like I just said, I feel that the next woman president will need to be someone who has everything that we are looking for. And Hillary, to me, does not have that. She has too many scandals
Condoleezza Rice
in the closet. Say that again?
Condoleezza Rice.
I would,
if she was running.
I think that, but she's not running. And I don't think she has any intent, plans.
Neither is Joe Biden, but he's on the ticket.
But I don't think that it's because we have a woman running that we should just go ahead and support. You have to go ahead and fulfill everything that us Americans need. So if it was somebody else that was another woman that was a candidate as well, and she had everything we need, I would go ahead and pick her over Hillary Clinton, because I don't feel that Hillary is honest enough for me. So that's how come I am not siding with her. Now, at first, I was going with her because she's a woman and she's strong, and that's what we hear and that's what we know. We don't know all the scandals, and I feel like it doesn't have anything to do with, okay, we're not ready for a woman president or anything like that. It's the one that we need in this country, and she is not it. So we are going to go with a man, and that's how I feel. Now, if she does win, it's because of her being well known over all the other candidates. That would be the only reason why she wins, because she's not addressing all the topics that need to be addressed.
Right. And
go ahead.
I think the only way Hillary wins is now. She wins if she can get McCoy to side with her. If she can get something like that, then she wins. Because I know y'all watched the TV show Scandal. She reminds you of the president Fisk on there, and she needs the not the current vice president, but the one from the last show, the woman. The tyranny of America is
Sally.
Now in the devil's. Yeah, she needs one of those. If she gets a vice president, I think she doesn't have it together, but I think that's why America gets a president and a vice president. You take Obama, who didn't know foreign policy, so he got a Biden. So I think that in the Republican side, it's a little bit harder because you have so many polar opposites that you can't make a pair. But in the Democratic side, you have some opposites that can pair and that could put on the same ticket. Malley would bring the clean energy bill, and Hillary said, that's what the thought that came to me earlier. Hillary addressed the same point that Michelle brought up and that Rain brought up when he said that we have to get to the root source of why you carry a gun. You know, she said that in her delivery of why Black Lives Matter or all lives, she said because we got to get school system. She thinks you should work for school. I think you should work for school. I don't want to just give you free school. So I think that when she brought that issue up, she did address the gun control and the free school issue.
Yeah. Well, we can go on forever, but do you guys realize we have been on for like almost 2 hours now? This is crazy. I love the fact that we are very passionate about what we are discussing. So there's more to come when it comes to us debating back and forth and not agreeing with each other and going at each other. I think this is very interesting. I want to go ahead and thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being here with us. We definitely needed you today.
Thank you for having me, and it's nice meeting all of you guys via the radio.
And MJ, you were fantastic as well.
Oh, well, you know, I like being a guest. This, you know, a regular and having this debate would be, you know, Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton's more than one.
And Rain, how do you feel about the show today?
I feel the show was excellent. I think that all the hosts, we are very opinionated, and it just made for a lively conversation. And, you know, I can't believe that we talked for this long, but, you know, as you said, I feel like it could go on forever because there's still a lot more to say about all the topics.
Well, we definitely will be addressing all the topics soon. That's it pretty much for our episode, but we will be back next week. Our contact information is i5theheat@gmail.com, and you can also go find us on the rest of our contact information on Facebook, which is facebook.com/i5theheat. We also would love questions. You can email your questions, relationship questions, or any other questions, and we will address those questions with answers. But I had a blast today. I am so happy for my co-host and Michelle Thompson for being with us today. And all the information from the show will be posted on our site, so you can find everything you need. That is it for next week. This is I5, The Heat.